Ladies and gentlemen, a very good evening and welcome along to the 2016 AFL Tasmania Hall of Fame.
There's little debate that being in the Hall of Fame is a pinnacle of recognition in any sport. And tonight, the breadth and depth of talent in the room is sufficient evidence to validate that claim. We have over 400 guests here tonight to rekindle friendships, embellish stories from yesteryear, and to relive the memories that only Australian rules football can create. As a football community, we owe a great debt to those that are in the Hall of Fame. They provide a point of reference as we look to tomorrow and beyond. They're the ones that have fuelled our love for the game. They're the heroes we grow up wanting to be, and they're the role models that we look to when we need inspiration for current or aspiring players. To the 2016 inductees.
First up to be inducted tonight is the memorable game, and that's the 1975 State Grand Final between Glenorchy and North Launceston.
I was at a function with Darryl Baldock 20 years ago, maybe 25 years ago, and he reckoned the best game of football he ever saw was the 1975 State Final between Glenorchy and North Launceston, so that's a testament.
You know, like, we went out and went hard, they came back, we came back, they finished it off beautifully. It was just a great game.
Glenorchy and North Launceston, the 1975 State Grand Final. Memorable game, the 12th memorable game to be inducted into the Hall of Fame. And Hutto, you said it one of the top 3 or 4 games that you've ever played in.
Yeah, Colin, well, it undoubtedly was. I can remember the game so well, and it's a long time ago now, and it was like played at North Hobart, which I think we all loved playing at North Hobart, just a beautiful ground to play on, a good crowd, and just a wonderful game of football. And the standard of the football was incredible. It was one of those games where genuinely a draw could have been a fitting result, but by God, I'm glad it wasn't, and I'm glad we won it. But you know, I was really proud of our guys because we were pretty much down on the canvas, and we got up, and we not only got up, but we got up well, and we finished the game off really well. But to Peter and his guys, I know they had a lot of injuries, we knew that, but by golly, they battled on well. They played a magnificent game.
Ladies and gentlemen, the memorable game for 2016 into the Hall of Fame, Glenorchy North Launceston from 1975, the State Grand Final. Please congratulate the boys that have joined us here on stage tonight.
Thanks.
The legendary team, that's our next induction, and it's the Clarence football team from 1970.
I'd made a state team the year before, and I had, a few clubs chasing me, but John here said, "Look, mate, when you come down, I'll get you the best job that you've ever had." And I said, "What's that, John?" He said, "Selling insurance." He said, "You'll make a fortune. You'll be the only one on the Eastern Shore selling insurance." My first night of training, I went around to everybody, "Bob Lynch, what do you do, mate?" "Sell insurance." There were 15 out of the team selling insurance. But still, I love the guy, and it's one of the best moves I ever made was coming down to Clarence. It was fantastic.
There's no doubt at all that runners-up in 1969, in those days, created a very solid team, and a team that didn't think of just themselves. They thought of the whole team as a whole. And every player I can look at now, and I know that they've all still stay friends with each other and will always be that way.
Ladies and gentlemen, please once again congratulate the legendary team, the 1970 Clarence Premiers. Went on to make it a golden era. As mentioned earlier, since that 1970 success, Clarence has become a real powerhouse and has now won 14 premierships. We've got 10 inductees to join us for 2016, and delighted to say that all that can be here are here with us tonight. So let's meet the first of our 2016 Hall of Fame inductees. Please welcome Trevor Best.
Come to North Hobart, and there was John Devine in the 60s, and we had Dasher Eaton prior to that. So we had two very, very good coaches. And the good thing about them was that they were good peoples.
You went to Carlton, there's a bit of a clearance wrangle. Tell us that story.
They want a few dollars for me. And the North Hobart Football Club weren't real keen at the time, and it went on for probably 3 or 4 months, and eventually they compromised.
What was it like in the VFL and how did you enjoy playing over there?
Oh, it was incredible, because since I was this high, all I wanted to do is play one senior game in Victoria. And I was very fortunate to have those great coaches to be able to help me. And I had a lot of good people around me and a marvellous wife to keep pushing me. And, that was the chance I had.
Congratulations. Ken Lette joins us into the AFL Hall of Fame for 2016. 315 games, 11 grand finals, 7 premierships. That's not a bad rap sheet.
Oh, I suppose it's a start, isn't it? Yeah. No, very lucky time.
It was a good era, wasn't it? Scottsdale,
Yep.
Wonderful community.
Yeah. Everyone in the community, the whole northeast supported us, and yeah, very good.
I want to ask you about a little accident you had. You had a disagreement with a bulldozer.
Yeah, come all 4.5 toes worse off, but ended up playing again later in the season. So.
Well, that's what I want. I read where you'd lost the toe. That was during a season when you were playing. How old were you?
Oh, it was 1968, so I was 23 or something. 24.
So, that was just the start of your career.
Oh, I played about 100 games then.
Well, you played another bloody 200, so, that's...
Yep.
So, did that affect you at all with running and kicking?
Yeah, especially with your balance. Yep. A bit hard to kick, but it used to hurt to kick, but you just had to put up with it.
So it was your kicking foot?
Yep.
Kicking foot? So good excuse if you miss a goal.
Oh, yeah, I had plenty of them.
Coach Bob Wilson described Ken as the best team man he'd ever coached. That's not a bad rap.
Yeah, but he's a bullshit artist.
Well, sadly, Terry passed away in April of this year at age 62, way too young, but I am delighted that one of our AFL Tas Hall of Fame legends, Gypsy Lee, is going to come forward and accept this on Terry's behalf. Nobody had a bad word to say about Terry, and he wrote a column, I think, that was one of his favourites, and that was At Work or Play, and he never really named anybody, but he sort of hinted as to who he was talking about and what indiscretions they may have been getting up to.
Yes, Terry enjoyed a drink in his younger days. As a matter of fact, the Tammany Hotel in Devonport, they had a bar, which was, Terry had his own spot in the corner of the bar, and they named that the Terry Morris Bar, and it's still there today. And Terry spent many an hour or dollar in the hotel there, but unfortunately in the finish he used to go in and he had a few problems with the drinking, and he changed to lemon squash or raspberry. But I think he used to drink just as much raspberry and lemonade and squash as what he used to beer. So probably the beer might have done him better, actually. But he was a fantastic guy, and as I say, a great East Devonport bloke too.
Yeah, he certainly was. Ladies and gentlemen, Michael Seddon into the 2016 Hall of Fame. You went across to play VFL with Melbourne. Now, is this right? You signed on back in 1980 for about 40,000?
No, it was perhaps reported as such.
That, was it?
No, I don't know what Sandy Bay got out of it, but mine was somewhat less than that.
Tell us a little bit about your VFL playing days.
Well, it was somewhat of a struggle for me, I guess. I had to work pretty hard. Playing under Carl Dietrich was fun. Under Barassi was a huge learning experience. I enjoyed, I guess, playing alongside Robert Flower, for example. He was probably the best player I played with, and a huge example. It was a struggle for me, but by about 82, 83, I'd established myself as a regular player, and then had the inevitable knee injury, which set me back. And Andy Bennett at the table there described me having a turning circle like a Mack truck.
And we're delighted that David could come over from Adelaide to join us here at the 2016 Hall of Fame. Had some great times with North Hobart. They were very good teams that you played in as a youngster.
They were, yeah. Started my career with Daryl Sutton. You know, it's a fantastic player. I remember first start, and then 80, 90, 85 and 87, 89, 2 premierships with Gary, so it was terrific.
You went across to Fitzroy, got drafted across to Fitzroy, played just the one game I think it was?
Two.
One of them was at North...
Don't cut me in half.
Sorry, just taking 50% off your career. One of those matches though was at North Hobart.
Yeah, it was. I made my debut on my own old home ground at North Hobart. We played the mighty Hawthom back then, and we got a little bit of a touch-up by about 156 points.
Yeah.
So... played on Gary Ayres that day, and he certainly taught me a thing or two.
Robert Groenewegen into the Hall of Fame for 2016.
It was a bit of a plane ride on an end-of-season trip in 1985, and in those days we were sitting, and the hostesses used to sit in the exit rows, and when they got up to do their thing, they used to allow us to sit in their rows. And I was sitting to a mad Tasmanian by the name of Rod McPherson, and he said, "Hey Wagon, if I grab this microphone here and push this button, you can talk to the whole plane." Ah, righto. So then he duly pushed that button and put it up to my mouth, and I said, "We're on flight 971 heading to Hawaii, but we're about to go down." That didn't go down too well.
Did you say this is Captain Groenewegen?
Yes, sorry, I forgot that. That's how the captain name came in. And look, it does scare to think what would happen these days if you did something like that.
Nick Probert into the Hall of Fame. Football did work out for you though. You had a lot of success.
I was really grateful, certainly playing back in my hometown eventually once we got there. For me, my most satisfying moments were certainly being a hometown boy at Burnie and being able to come back and have 4 premierships and 3 as a coach.
Yeah, that was a real golden era, wasn't it? 01, 2, 3, 4?
Correct. Mick McGuan was the coach in 2001. I was living overseas in Dublin. I'd had a pretty bad record, actually. I had been at 3 clubs in a row that soon after my departure met their demise, Paran, Sandy Bay and the Southern Districts, and decided that I was a jinx on footy clubs. So at the age of 26 went overseas, and I think the great fortune, it was a misfortunate incident. My father passed away suddenly in 2001. I'd been 3 years overseas and pretty much turned my back on footy, and had the unfortunate call that Dad had passed away, but it brought me back to my hometown of Burnie and brought me back to footy. And so the great joy that I have, and I'm wearing my father's tuxedo tonight actually, of my father's passing is that I was able to come back to my hometown, coach them to a premiership or 3 in the end.
Our next inductee, Brendon Bolton.
I'd like to think I tried hard and the players I played with thought I was a competitor, but Mathew more than anyone would probably say I couldn't kick far enough or run quick enough, but had a red hot crack.
Yeah, you did have a real crack. When did you decide that coaching was going to be the way forward?
I think the passion really was ignited at North Hobart, and again, I'll be indebted to North Hobart for giving me an opportunity when I was only 24. But once I was teaching and loved educating and still had a passion to play footy, you merge them together and you never work a day in your life. And I'm really fortunate now that I'm doing what I love, which is educate and still be around footy. We've got a long way to go at Carlton, and the one thing about life is challenge, and what a bigger challenge to leave a club like Hawthorn and go to a team that was on the bottom of the ladder. But I've learned in life, and hopefully you've heard me say this in the media of late, that get comfortable being uncomfortable. Because if you're comfortable, you can already do it. If it's uncomfortable, it's new and different and you're growing. And our whole club at the moment's uncomfortable and we're changing. We're going to have some twists and turns, but in time we'll get there.
Please welcome Ian Callinan. You kept that dream alive, didn't you?
Yeah, obviously it's been well spoken about, Cole, but yeah, I was just lucky enough to be in the right place at the right time, I suppose. I'm indebted to the Adelaide Footy Club, especially Hamish Ogilvie and Neil Craig for giving me the opportunity. So it's not something that I went to Adelaide to do. It was just to move away for a bit of a change, and I was lucky enough to be in the right place.
You had an outstanding junior career. You were an ace player for Tasmania in the juniors. You won the Hunter-Harrison medal. Harrison Hunter, got it right the first time, for the best player in the carnival. That didn't lead to being drafted though. How much of a kick in the guts was that?
Yeah, it was pretty disappointing, I suppose. Coming through as a junior, the Mariners was probably the number one thing as a junior. So, you sort of get sucked in a little bit, I suppose. You read the paper, and every week you get an article, written about you. You're a massive chance of being picked up. And when that didn't happen, it was obviously a kick in the guts. But lucky enough at the end of that year, we had the VFL side come in the Devils. So I was lucky enough to play a few games there, and the rest is history.
Grant Birchall, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, it's been a fair ride so far. Very fortunate to play alongside some pretty good players, and hopefully there's a little bit left.
Could you have possibly dreamed, as a young kid growing up, playing in Tasmania up on the northwest coast, and then playing for the Mariners and doing what young kids do, that you could possibly go to Hawthom and be involved in such a golden era?
Not really, no. All I wanted to do was to play an AFL game. So, to win 4 premierships is unreal, and I pinch myself pretty much every day. So, very lucky, and like I said, hopefully there's a little bit more left.
You started out, you played under-16 footy for Tasmania, then under-18 football, as most of the kids do. Like Callie, you came through. You won the medal too, didn't you, in the under-18s?
I did, yeah, under-18s. Yeah, it was. We had a successful carnival actually. We had a really good side, and it was a great honour. And I thank a few of the guys here, Hamish Ogilvie, who coached me that year. Was really instrumental in my development as a youngster. So. It was a terrific year.
Out of all the matches you played, how many times have you kicked a right foot?
No, it's only for balance. Not many.
You've joined a very elite group, Grant. Royce Hart, Brent Croswell, Rodney Eade and Grant Birchall, only Tasmanians to have played in 4 premierships.
Yeah, it doesn't sit real comfortably with me. It's been a great ride, so we get a bit emotional.
Mate, it's richly deserved. I was just going to say, what an elite club that is. Like, you could hold a reunion in the phone box, but Jesus, if you win another one, you'll be all by yourself.
Yeah, no, there'll be some good times, a few good beers.
Mathew Armstrong, up you come, Matty. Come on, brother. Mathew Armstrong. Come and join me, mate.
Yeah, it was a first draft. I was back in 1986. I was working at the time. There's no big razzmatazz like it is these days. I found out when I got home, to be honest with you. Walked in the front door and Mum tells me I'm off the Fitzroy in Melbourne. That's how it was back then. I was very fortunate. Certainly the era I was coming up as a junior, there was a lot of very, very good footballers, and playing against those young players all the time, you wanted to be better, you wanted to work harder at your footy and so on. So yes, the conditions did help a lot, and you don't realise that until probably you get over there. But it was more the work ethic, that because there were so many good footballers around.
What you've achieved since leaving Brisbane in the latter years is it's put you right up there. You're tenacious, I know, as an on-field, but I really think that you puts a smile on your face with what you've done off the field as well. Yeah, look, I enjoyed. Look, I was very fortunate. It's actually in my notes to talk later on, but I'll mention it now. I was very fortunate to come back to Tasmania. It's all right being a senior coach and moving hats around and doing whatever that, but I actually wanted to coach and learn to coach. I had the opportunity, to come back to Tasmania and coach the Devils, and it was the greatest move in my life, in my coaching life, because getting an organisation, we had nowhere to train, we had no players, we had no logo, we had no jumper,
We had no footballs, we had no equipment, we had nothing. And to see it build and the players especially have got to be commended for Tasmania players that, you know, I rang around and they came straight in. They wanted to play football at the highest level. They are the ones, as much as it was a great time, they're the ones that need all the acknowledgement. Behind every footballer and coach, there's a better woman. And I'm nearly there, Birch.
Come on, Armour.
I've been very fortunate to have a wife who loves me and my family to death, and I would not be standing here or sitting here today without you, Nicole. I love you very much. Thank you.
Well done, Matty. First legend and a brother. Graham Wright, ladies and gentlemen. Fantastic with Mathew Armstrong. But we kicked off the fact that he was at Hobart, but yours was all Devonport as a young kid before you actually went to Collingwood. So it taught you a lot in the early days.
Yeah, it was. Obviously, congratulations to Matty. He was a fantastic player and obviously a peer of mine coming through and someone I looked up to. But yeah, obviously different parts of Tassie. I was a North West Coast boy, Devonport, and probably before I went to the AFL East Devonport, which I had a great season with them and I sort of see myself as an East Devonport player. I mean, for us, there was a lot of those guys you talk about, even your Gavin Browns and Mick McGuan and those guys, we were all 21, 22 at the time. So the breaking the drought, so to speak, wasn't that big a deal for us because we hadn't been part of any losing grand finals or anything like that. So we just went into that game and obviously played as hard as we possibly could and were able to get the win. But the breaking the drought, I suppose, come afterwards that everyone, I suppose, spoke about it. But from our perspective, it was, we were going into a game doing our best to win.
Then you go to London and you have to play an exhibition match against Essendon. They're on a curfew and you're flying solo. Lee Matthews doesn't even appear as coach. I think Ronnie Richards looks after you. What unfolds over there, overseas?
We went, same again, obviously the drawn game, so the game's a week later, the grand final, so we left, generally there'd be a 10-day break before leaving to go overseas, that we had 3 days, so we were 3 days celebrating, very hard and long, and then basically jumped on a plane to go to London, and we're playing Essendon again over there, and the word to us, because Lee didn't go, Ronnie Richards was coach, so we were just doing what we wanted basically, and the club was okay about that, the game was going to be televised back to Australia, so don't embarrass yourselves, and that was basically it. The Essendon guys were playing Essendon again, and Essendon had a 11 o'clock curfew. We had no curfew. Yep. And I think the game was at 1 o'clock the next day. So we were rolling in at 4 or 5 in the morning to play a game the next day. And the bus was leaving to go to the game. We had guys still in their rooms that hadn't woken up. We were meant to be on the bus to go and play this game. So we got to the game. Darren Malone went in and saw the Essendon guys because it was at Lords. No, sorry, not Lords. It was at the Oval. And the cricket, obviously the changements were really close. So Darren Malone went in and spoke to them and said, "Listen, we're no good in here. You might want to take it easy on us." And we ended up winning that game by 8 goals. And I've got no idea how we won, but I think there was a little bit of a problem going forward because we thought we could probably play like that. So in 91, we didn't get anywhere near it, and we were terrible. I love footy, and I love the game, and I love the AFL, and I'm passionate about it. But as a player, what I meant there was I don't think it actually defined me. I'm not someone who sort of looks back and goes, it was... you want to hang your hat on that, I suppose. There's a lot else to life, but I love the fact that I played, and I love the fact that I was involved at a great footy club in Collingwood, and love the fact that I'm involved at a fantastic club like Hawthom now. Thanks to everyone, and certainly Footy Tas. This is a fantastic honour, and I'm rapt to be here and rapt to be a part of it. And thanks for bringing me into the family, so to speak.
Strong family, great bloke. Well done, Graham Wright. There it is, icon Paul Sproule. There's Paul. Put your hands together, Paul. Congratulations. Drop there. Well, some fond memories there, Paul. You get introduced into the Hall of Fame, then you go legend, and now we're sitting here as an icon. Must sit pretty well with you.
Quite a surprise to me, actually, Michael. But a real honour, of course, at the same time. It's delightful to see some of the other names up there, and to think I'm standing or sitting next to them is quite an honour for me, because we know what Hutto and Stewart and all these people are like, and many that we've heard tonight as well, so I'm really delighted about that. I always loved football and loved playing the game, and I'm surprised that having that approach, and by the way, not a full-time footballer. In Melbourne, for example, I was working full-time, going to uni and playing football as well. So I was always a part-time footballer. But the thing I like about, and that's what's here tonight, is the people in the game. And it's not only the players that are in the game, because the club is the game. And that's where many of you probably haven't been players yourselves, but you're integral to the whole success of football in Tasmania. So a big thank you to all people involved in this game.
So you leave Tassie, young man, and you go to Essendon, and all of a sudden there is success. You run down the race expecting to win, and you did most times.
The club at Essendon was a business, right? It was a business. They never once mentioned in the time I was at Essendon that you're there to win football games. And that was quite surprising to me. It really did shock me, because I've always been at Hobart with the wonderful people under Pascoe at Hobart, and that was Trevor Leo before, and all those lucky people I experienced as a young footballer. Many of them aren't in the Hall of Fame, actually, the way I think about it, but that's interesting. But they encourage you to win. That's what the whole game's about. And they help you learn how to win and be effective on the ground. When I went to Richmond, it was about winning and nothing else.
That was it.
It was about winning, and I can remember the first... well, we didn't win that year in 72, but we went to the AGM, as you do for a range of things. Christ, the house was full. And you could hear them almost roaring now, come on, you've got to get out there and win next year. So that was the complete difference in the club.
Paul, fascinating, an icon now, from legend status to icon, and as you said, you go up with the greats, and there's a list outside that you just stand there and you're mesmerised. You just look at them, and to actually be under Ian Stewart, who is your favourite player and you played with as a young kid, and then to team up with him at Richmond must be a fantastic honour and memory. We salute you, Paul Sproule, icon. Paul Sproule, icon.
One more induction to go, and that is for the great club, Tasmania, the great club for 2016.
Well, established back in 1889, played in various associations. They won 3 flags they won 6 premierships before joining the NEFU, then won 3 more, went on to join the NTFA, had a golden era through the 60s.
I think what people got to put in perspective is when the club won its first flag in 1964 to come across from the Union, it's a town of 2,500 people. So when you actually look at football history across the country, this little town, 2,500 people, we'll repeat that a few times, won their first flag in 64 and then won 10 in 22 years. So although our great club's perhaps not where it was in terms of the statewide success, it's an extraordinary story, and I think a lot of people here realise to a certain extent the North Lonnie people, the City South people, etc. But it's quite remarkable, and it was a wonderful era.
That is a huge honour, I think, for our little area of 2,500 people.
Congratulations to all our inductees in 2016 joining the AFL Tasmania Hall of Fame. thanks for being a wonderful audience, ladies and gentlemen. Hope you've enjoyed the night. The party continues in the Onyx Bar. We'll see you there. Bye for now.